Welcome to This Week in Location-Based Marketing, the most trusted podcast dedicated to the new business of location. Hello, everybody, and welcome to This Week in Location-Based Marketing. This is episode number 120. We are recording this live early morning, March 9th, 2013. My name is Rob Woodbridge from Untether.tv, located in sunny, balmy Ottawa, Ontario, Canada. And with me, as always, for the previous 119 shows, and he came back again.
Asif Khan from the Location-Based Marketing Association. It's also sunny in Toronto today. So, hey, well, you never know. Sometimes you get some good weather.
Well, this is it. This is the day before daylight savings time. Either like you're springing ahead, right? So everybody's losing an hour. We're all going to be grumpy in Canada, in North America tomorrow. But today, I'm feisty. I'm in a good mood. I got a lot of sleep after quite the week of travel and turbulence. It was very welcome to get back into the city. We're going to be talking a little bit about what we did in Toronto together. We're going to be talking about some great stories from across the whole location-based marketing world. Some of the companies you will recognize, some of them you won't. We, of course, have our great guest of the week and an insane resource. But before we get into that, let's talk about the LBMA. What's going on with the LBMA? You got an incredible schedule over the next couple of months, don't you, Steve?
Yeah, it's crazy busy. Just a lot of great events going on. I mean, our chapters are continuing to stay busy, and we're even launching new chapters. So there's plenty going on. So maybe just to highlight a couple, we're March the 20th. We're in Berlin, and we're doing a nice little event there, trying to bring the local community together around the location ecosystem in Berlin, and just having a sort of informal discussion and chat about where things are going, and for us it's a new market to be in Germany and kind of see what's happening there. And then a week after that, April the 3rd, the LBMA San Francisco chapter is running an event called Developing for Location, and it's a panel discussion primarily led by you, actually, good old Rob Woodbridge there, moderating a panel on kind of looking at tools for developers and SDKs and things like that around enabling the location in apps. So that will include Urban Airship and Placecast and Locate and Pushpoint Mobile and a bunch of great companies involved in that discussion. Then, of course, it doesn't stop there. April is a crazy month. There's the RAMP conference in Chicago, the Retail RAMP conference. And then at the end of the month, we're launching a new chapter in Seattle on April the 23rd. And that's in partnership with Venue Labs, Razorfish, Point Inside, a bunch of great companies in that market as well. And then the next day on the 24th, the Atlanta chapter is back at it again, this time in partnership with AMA, which is the Atlanta Interactive Marketing Association. So we're partnering up and doing a great event there as well. So that's just right there, just April. And so plenty going on, and there'll be lots more to talk about in the next couple of weeks.
So when are you home? You're home this week simply for it's March break in Canada?
It's March break, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm home this week, and then I'm pretty much on the road for the next 6. So home for a few days in between, but yeah.
Well, I just it's the amount of activity that the LBMA does is incredible. We always talk about this stalwarts, the voice of location, and you never rest. You never rest. Maybe over Christmas and March break, that's about it. So, Asif, we appreciate what you do for the location world and the mobile world, because they're all coming. It's location, mobile, retail, mashup. That's what the LBMA does.
Yeah.
Before we even get into any of the stories or just an overview, we're going to talk about what our experience last week at DX3 Canada. But I do want to reach out to say a huge congratulations to Whirly and Chaotic Moon. It's a app development company down in Austin, right now in the heart of Austin, which is where South by Southwest is. They've announced that they've been invested in by WME, which is William Morris Endeavor. Huge chunk of their company goes to these guys. Chaotic Moon, if you don't know, are the guys that worked on, you name it. There's a monster at the end of the book, which is one of my kids' favorite books on the iPad. They worked on The Daily, which was that failed attempt at the Murdoch's digital-only newspaper. But they've worked on with Microsoft, some of the biggest brands on the planet. They are an elite, very, very, very small 50-person team that have really changed the way that we look at mobile. Worley and works. He's a co-founder, but he runs Chaotic Moon Labs, and they did the longboard that was powered by brainwaves. Pretty amazing guy, and so huge congratulations to Worley and his team for this huge milestone. They were now a part of WME, or WME is taking a chunk of Chaotic Moon, which is great.
Yeah, there's so much great stuff coming out of Austin in general. I mean, obviously South by Southwest is kicking off this week, and neither of us are going to be down there because we just got too many other things going on. But there's so many great startups coming out of that space, especially in mobile and location areas. And you just reminded me of I want to say also welcome to Digby Mobile, who's also in Austin. And just became a member of the LBMA this week. So welcome aboard. We're happy to have you. And it's I'm sure we're going to have lots to talk about after South by Southwest as well. So
I think so. All right, let's get into this. For those of you who are watching this and you're wondering, yes, my kids did dress me. Yes, they are also Mario and Super Mario and Mario Brothers fans. So yes, I didn't have a real choice about the shirt. It just happened this way. Anyway, Asif, you and I were in Toronto this past week. We were at a great event put on by the Anthonys and Andy called DX3 Canada. This was it was pretty big. We kept on talking about how many different tracks there were, how much content there was, how many exhibitors there were. It was a great event. And first, overall impressions very quickly on your account. We did a panel together. It was a stand-up debate. But what were your thoughts on this event?
A great event for the local Canadian market. It's rare to see a conference of that size. 4,000 or 5,000 people gathering. All around. Technology and data and mobile and lots of e-commerce stuff too, which was surprising to me. But a good event. Really great discussions, interaction. Lots of great people we were hanging out with. So. Kudos to the DX3 team for pulling it off.
Yes, and just a few of those people that we actually hung out with. Ali Shaw. Ali, if you're listening to this, and I know you are, from Bubble Finder, really, really great to meet you in person. The same thing with Justin Kozak, who is from Halo. I had a great opportunity to have a conversation. Lots of conversations with Justin. The
two Justins, actually. Just Kozak and Raymond. So
Justin Raymond, who is the president of Halo Canada. We're trying to get them on the show to do a long-form interview with them. And plus I got I don't have it in front of me, but some great some great stuff from Halo I'll be wearing throughout my other episodes. Susie Kendrick, she's an Ottawa girl, Lilibel Communications, very cool to connect with Susie. David Shalabi of TapTrack. Oh, and Justin Edmead, right? What a guy from t.tv.com. And Dave Coleman, I get to spend, we did an experts panel with Dave Coleman from Google. It was really, really great to reconnect with Dave. So Dave, if you're listening, hello, buddy. And Karina Shum, who is a new first-time entrepreneur. Company's called FS Local. Really, really great to connect and answer questions. And hey, listen, Karina, if you're listening, you can reach out anytime and ask questions to me, rob@untether.tv. I thought it was an incredible event. And of course, the Anthonys and Andy. And then Kendall as well, who was running around trying to coordinate the whole event. Great job, guys. Really, the people stellar, the event stellar, the vibe was great. Had an amazing time.
Yeah, and for me, one of the most unique things was there was a booth by SpaFax that has a solution called Sparksheet, and they hired this guy who was an illustrator to basically sit there, and you would sit down and you would Sparksheet, there it is, and they would interview you and kind of understand what you do and what your work's all about, and kind of your a day in the life of Asif or whoever, and while you're talking, he's basically drawing your life. So I did this, and here's the result. I'm
going to zoom right in
there. Can you see that? So it's amazing, and so thanks to Sparksheet for pulling that off. I really appreciate it. What a great memento.
Well, yeah. Can't say enough about it. Can't wait till next year. If you weren't a part of it this year, you should be a part of it for DX3 Canada 3, which is next year. And I'm impressed. It brought the right people around, and then not to mention about it was in the heart of Toronto. So, everybody that I knew and everybody that I wanted to meet with just ended up. It becomes a huge networking session. And except for that really really drunk girl at that party that night, that was somewhat embarrassment. Her shirt was off. It was not so great. So if you're listening to this, we don't know your name, but you have a whole bunch of geek fans now. Anyways, so what do you say?
Let's get into this.
We got 6 great stories. We're going to first start off with the app fascination of the week. Asif, buddy, what is it today?
It's called Spindle, and it comes from Spindle Labs, another company that is going to be a big player, I think, at South by Southwest. They're launching version 2 in Austin this week, along with Chicago and Seattle.
Stuff is happening all around you, and you have no idea. Until Spindle, a new tool for tuning into your surroundings and knowing what's happening in your area.
We're sampling a new pistachio cupcake at our bakery down the street.
Gathering updates from local businesses and organizations, it's a news feed for your neighborhood. Spindle tells you what's happening right now.
Art Fair today, 10 to 2.
Spindle knows where you are and pulls updates from Twitter and Facebook, organized by themes, such as restaurants, nightlife, shopping.
Hey, we got the new summer dress from Geneviese's. Only 2 left.
Wow, great, thanks.
Hey, we just tapped a keg of hard cider down at the pub. Won't last long.
If you see a result you like, tap it for more.
Wow, really?
Yeah, $3 drinks, Wizard Fist rocking out at 9. You should check it out.
You can use Spindle to tell your friends where you're going and post your activity to Facebook or Twitter.
Awesome, thanks.
Really like a place? Add it to your favorites list and Spindle will tell you what's happening at all the places you love. We'll even send you push notifications when your favorite places have something interesting to say.
Pardon me, we have a cancellation and can take a party of 2 at the Celebrity Chef Hotspot down the block.
Spindle. Tune in to your surroundings and discover all that's happening around you.
It's another one of these location social discovery type of apps. But what's I think interesting about Spindle is that it's all about search, local search, and not just finding stuff around you, but search alerts, which is for me really interesting. So this is kind of like the mashup of social location discovery with search-based push notifications, and kind of tying those things together. So you may have searched for something in the past. It's tracking that data, and then when it finds something that's relevant to you, you get this kind of notification sent to you. So I think that aspect is really interesting. I don't know whether, for me, this is a very crowded space. I think it's really difficult to, get traction in this space and get, beyond that sort of, okay, so what, I got 1 million users or 2 million users that, that doesn't really do a lot for, from a monetization perspective. So, I question how they make money, but in terms of fun and hanging out and getting stuff that you want, if you happen to be on this app, okay, cool.
I don't have much to add to this other than that monetization riddle has got to be there. But you're right. We played the video at the beginning of this segment. So when you want notifications about the things that you like based on your past or based not on your past, based on your history. And based on what you like, this makes a lot of sense. Again, it's density that's the key, as you said. Getting past 1 million or 2 million users sounds so trite for us to say that for people who are struggling to get to 10,000 or 1,000 or 500 or their first user, but really that because it's so broad and the industry is so noisy, 1 million to 2 million users is that kind of that new hurdle to get past, and up to 10, 20, and even we've seen Foursquare, stall. And then you look at Instagram accelerate when they became a part of Facebook. So that's the riddle now, is how to accelerate so that you have enough density so that this actually works exceptionally well beyond one local neighborhood. So, yeah. So if you're interested in that, spindle.com, spindle.com. You can download it in the App Store. I do not think It is available everywhere in every city. It is available in Austin, Boston, Chicago, New York, San Francisco, and Seattle. So if you're in those cities, you are in luck. If you're in Canada, you suck. Which is typical, right?
Yeah.
You know, I was talking to somebody at DX3, and they said, you know, what's so great about Canada, aside from the great, clean, fresh air, universal health care, the Ottawa Senators, there's nothing else, right? No. What I was saying is that, you know, a lot of companies in the mobile space come up into Canada as a test bed. We have a good population of very, very, very active mobile users. Our population, somewhere in the realm between 70 and 75% of Canadians have smartphones and are connected to the internet. And they use us as a test bed for their launching of the product. So they beta test up here and then they launch in the States, and I love that. So if you are thinking about it, don't launch in California where you can fail immediately and then be, you know, blackballed. Come up into Canada, launch in Canada, do all your testing in Canada, then go down into the States. Give us the services for
No, it's an ideal market for that. I mean, just the size, the population, the you know, the multiculturalism. You know, that's in cities like Toronto, Vancouver, Montreal in particular. You know, I just think that there's a lot of good things, you know, to look at Canada as a test market for a new product before you go into bigger markets like Europe or the US.
Strategy number 1. There you go. We're only 14 minutes into this. All right, that's Spindle. Go to spindle.com if you're interested. Go download it, play around with it. Let us know if you've played with it and if you're fascinated with it. Oh, you know what? You know, an update on the other Fascination apps as before we even go forward. I got to tell you, one thing that I did in Toronto was my all-time record on moves, walking 13,573 steps in Toronto, and then the next day 11,181 steps. So I'm still using this. I don't know about you guys, but I'm still addicted to the Moves app. Still.
It's a great app. It really is. It's the simplicity of it and the value you can get out of it in terms of just, you know, personal data is really interesting.
All right.
So, yeah.
On to the next.
All right.
Here we go. First story, real story today, after all of that, is this company that we featured a couple of times. I've done an interview with Ryland Barnes a number of years ago. ShopSavvy partners with Capital One in a great way, and I think that we're going to see many more companies partnering this way. I like this. Asif, why don't you give everybody a little bit of a rundown?
Yeah, so ShopSavvy, it's an app that's not new, been around for quite a while. You know, was originally kind of focused on barcode scanning and price comparison, and did a phenomenal job at that. I mean, a huge base of retailers and such that have been working with this. I mean, something like 40,000 retailers are on the platform, 20 million products stored in their database. So, you know, lots of great data there. But, you know, again, at the end of the day, these things, you know, as I just said with Spindle, you know, come down to, you know, how do we make money? How do we start to monetize some of this kind of stuff? And so, you know, and the credit card companies like Capital One are kind of figuring, you know, trying to figure out how do we play in the mobile wallet discussion? How do we play in this as well? And so this, for me, this is a good partnership. This is an interesting relationship. And so what happens is that kind of like Amex and Foursquare that we've talked about in the past, you know, it's about tying a user base around a mobile app to an existing credit card function that or solution that you already have in your wallet. And so what happens in this case is as you go out, as you use the ShopSavvy app, if you purchase $40 or more, you get a $20 statement credit from Capital One. And you know, that's just for using the thing. And then there's all kinds of unique deals that are pushed to you via the app that are coming from Capital One. And the interesting thing is the credit card companies, and this is not obviously limited to Capital One, but you know, it's not just any deal or even unique deals necessarily that are only available through Capital One. It's the deals that you're getting are based on your purchase patterns and your history in terms of how you use your credit card and where you shop and what you've done in the past. So it's very tailored. I like this kind of, you know, very hyper-focused and relevance play. And I think we're going to see many more of these kinds of relationships.
Yeah, you hit it right there, which is that this is based on your patterns. So, you know, it is very selective on what you'll get the discounts and how it interacts with you. And I think Sarah Perez said it very well in her article on TechCrunch around this, which she said that, you know, ShopSavvy was originally about deals, about, showrooming and I mean, ShopSavvy was one of the first applications out there that allowed you to compare what you're about to spend inside of a store to what was available around the corner or online on Amazon or any other e-tailer. And I think that she said it so well, is that they're moving from that deals world to really a shopping platform, and they've been in that evolution since they really did launch. And I think this pushes it a little bit further, and this is going to happen. This seamless transition between discounts and incentives and credit card companies and the people who own the gateway to the cash. We've talked about this so many times on this show, over the last 119 episodes, and now including this one, just simply because whoever owns the customer owns that relationship with the customer, owns the has the upper hand in these conversations. And I like this move by ShopSavvy. Yeah. So if you're interested, ShopSavvy.com. It's exactly how it sounds, ShopSavvy.com. And you can download it it's on all three major platforms, which is Windows, Android, and iOS. All right.
There you go.
We talked a little bit about it while we were our second story. While we were in Toronto, we talked to the Justins over at Halo. We're not talking about Halo today, but a Halo competitor. I think these guys emanate from Toronto. In fact, Winston. These guys have kind of shifted their business model away from creating a black car hailing or taxi hailing application where they bring in all the other different black car companies and taxi companies like Uber and like Halo into a company that builds white label version of their software for taxi cab companies. They're Toronto based, aren't they? Yeah.
They are. They come out of a local accelerator called the Next 36, which is kind of like a mini Y Combinator, I guess, up here in
like
Toronto.
Like a Y Combinator wannabe. That's what they all are.
Y Combinator wannabe. Yeah. There you go. And so this is a company that's been around for a little while. They've been in that black car, aggregating space for a little bit. And they've decided that it's not really working out for them. Time to pivot. So they've changed the name to Fleetbit. Effectively, what they're doing is they are, as you said, building white label solutions for the taxi companies. And personally, while I think there might be, some potential customers there for them. I mean, they've announced that they've done this for Diamond Taxi, which is one of the big Toronto taxi companies. I'm not really, all that optimistic on this one. I think this is, a last minute, kind of, run to try and find some way to make some money. But, it's not a company, because at the end of the day, who's your customer? A bunch of companies out there that are looking for an app development shop. So you're nothing more than an app development shop, in my view. I mean, sure, you've got a product here, and you're going to just go and slap a different logo on it, a few different times. But that's not I don't see that as a long-term, big, sustainable business. You might have 15, 20 companies using your platform, paying you a few fees, but at the end of the day, some of these guys are going to go build their own apps. Some of these guys are just going to, decide that they're going to partner up with Uber or Halo or somebody else, anyways. And I don't like this. I think this is just a last ditch effort to, how do we find some money and keep our investors, off our backs for another couple months.
We are in complete agreement with this. This is, when I think of a company like Halo, like Uber, like these other companies that are really investing in audience development, which is the key thing. If you're a cab company, if you're anybody, you're going to pay for a service that brings you new customers, and then it's up to you to create the loyalty between that person and you, the business, right? Serve them well, treat them well. And, feed them well, whatever it might be. Get them there quickly, pick them up faster, right? Be held accountable to your customer. And I can't see it where there's 5 different cab companies, each with their own apps, because I don't care about the cab company, right? No offense to cab companies. Mm-hmm. I don't care if you are a blue line, a yellow line, a green line, a blah, a blah, a blah. I don't care. You are a cab to me. You are a service, and the closest cab to where I am is the one that I want, right? I don't care. We have this expectation. So the idea that you're going to build apps and I'm going to create loyalty around the cab companies is ridiculous. I could create loyalty to Halo and Uber and maybe I'll befriend a driver or two, but I don't really give a damn about the cab companies. So
No, and I'm right with you on that. I mean, I don't see, I don't have, I travel a lot, as you know, and I'm constantly in different cities. I use cabs, obviously, all the time.
Yep.
I don't have an affiliation to Diamond Taxi or this taxi or that taxi. Like, it doesn't matter to me. I just need a taxi. And as long as I can get one quickly, and I'm happy to use location-based services to do that. So maybe a little sidebar here is, take a look at, Click a Taxi, which is another service out there. These guys are huge. They're now in 50 countries. They work with every major 2,000 different taxi companies are on their system. I think they have a billion people that have used the platform over the last little while. I mean, this is just, that is how you scale.
Yep.
That is how you. I mean, it's working with all the cab companies at once, providing it's a utility, it's a service that that we need. I use Click a Taxi. I have the paid version of the app. It just makes sense. I also use Uber. I also use Lyft. But I'm not going to go and get a branded taxi app. That's I just don't see value in that.
no, and even here, there's an Ottawa company that's called Cellwand, and they make they're behind the service Pound Taxi. So wherever you are in North America, they've worked with the carriers. All you have to do is do a pound, like it's a hash, right? So Pound Taxi on your phone, not even in an app, but on your phone, and you'll get connected to the nearest cab and the dispatcher, and they'll get you there done. So, the whole idea, the reason that these guys are going to be successful, I mean, Uber, Cellwand, Pound Taxi, Lyft, all these guys, is that they aggregate the cabs and they create an audience for the cabs, and you, visitor, you, the resident, don't care about the cab companies. You care about getting to where you're going as fast as you can. And that's why, for us, Winston, whatever it is, Fleetbit doesn't do it. You don't build, customized apps for brands that nobody cares about. And that's what they're doing.
Right.
So if you are still interested in these guys, Fleetbit, FLEETBIT.com. They were Winston. They had a business model. Now they don't. Ooh.
So that's the easiest way to say it, dude. All right. Let's get off that one. On to our next story. This is an interesting one. A company called It Does It, which is a hosted service that provides connectors or APIs, if you will, to a bunch of big cloud-based services like Salesforce.com and Basecamp and WordPress and things like that. They've partnered up with Bullseye, which is a location API, location-based service API that does lead generation, lead management, and email connectors. So this is a B2B kind of story we're talking about here, a little bit outside of the usual consumer facing stuff that we tend to feature on here. But I wanted to raise it because it has some interesting potential. I mean, if you think of the number of corporations that use Basecamp or Salesforce, or any of those kinds of things, being able to simply have a plugin that can give you location data or help you understand where, like, for example, let's say you use Salesforce.com, you've got a bunch of people making sales calls in a suburb of Chicago, on a Tuesday, and, they're out there, they make their calls, all that data is feeding back into Salesforce in real time. Well, you can push out notifications to say, well, here's 3 more businesses that aren't customers yet, that happen to be near where you are right now, as a salesperson. Go knock on these doors, and here's the contact information, all that kind of stuff. So it's that ability to sort of do engagement and feed into the cloud, this data in real time. So on the one hand, it's data aggregation and sort of storage. On the other hand, it's the ability to kind of do real time engagement based on location. The current API is focused on email. So it's this ability to collect emails and distribute emails that are location centric. And so what they're going after here is let's say you're I know Constant Contact also does some of this kind of stuff. So think about you walk into a store, you've checked in on Foursquare, and on that check-in into the location, it'll send you a response back saying, would you like us to add you to the email database, and along with that tag the location of the store that you're at. So there's a bunch of stuff going on in here. Obviously not the easiest thing to grasp unless you're in this kind of B2B and use tools like Salesforce or Campaign Monitor or things like that. But a lot of power and a lot of simplicity to how they've enabled this.
Don't have anything to add to this, Asif, other than bullseyelocations.com if you're interested in those guys. And if you're interested in It Does It, it just sounds like that. It does it, DUZZIT.com. Or if you're in Canada, that's DUZZIT.com. It Does It. Cool story. It just shows you that I think that the big thing here is that location is just not about location. It's about contextualizing something like an email, right? And whatever other services they're going to bring into this. So pretty cool. Yep. ItDoesIt.com, and then they were implemented, or they were partnered with Bullseye. BullseyeLocations.com. First 3 stories done. Well, we got 3 more, but we're going to take a break here to talk to, actually, to bring in an interview that has not been released yet as of episode number 120. This is with VP Design. His name is Blake Cyrock, who is the VP Design for Willow Tree. This is a company that is very interesting. You've probably never heard of them. They're a small development and design firm, UI UX, in the United States, and they were in charge of, actually, they were tasked with building the mobile experience, that's apps and in-arena experience for the Barclays Center and for the Brooklyn Nets. So Barclays Center, the Nets used to be in New Jersey. They moved over to Brooklyn. Barclays Center is now their home, and it is one of the most connected and most technologically advanced stadiums, arenas in North America. And these guys were tasked with creating that mobile layer between the, when you walk into the stadium, and then they built the Nets app, so it's both an in-stadium and in-home experience. Pretty amazing. Blake and his team are super, super smart. This is what we're talking about here, is the future of live entertainment. And these guys are right in the middle of it. So had a chance to sit down with Blake, and here are his thoughts on what they've been doing for the Barclays Center and the Brooklyn Nets. Take it away, Blake. You sent me some stuff, and I was watching some interviews with some of the guys who were in charge of, the Barclays Center, and they had a great point, which was quite literally, people bring these devices into venues all over the place, and their heads are down for most of whatever it is that they're looking at. Concerts, right. Sporting events. Mm-hmm. These have become interruptions to a live event, and to the point where even, I'm a Canadian, and I say, I don't even need to go to a hockey game because it's not interactive enough. I can just sit here and watch it. Or I could stay at home and listen to the game and watch the game and interact with the game a little bit more than I can there. But they had a really astute thought, which was, well, why don't we bring that experience into Barclays Center, and then let everybody in there connect over Wi-Fi, and simultaneously 19 or 20,000 people connecting over Wi-Fi without any droppage, and technology there is awesome. And then, but how do you orchestrate that, where you've got the Barclays app and you've got the Nets app, and you've got to make sure that this experience is as good sitting in the stands as it is from home watching it on television. Mm-hmm. That must have been a challenge for you guys.
Absolutely. So that was one of the main challenges of the entire design process of those two apps. And really, we were faced with the explicit challenge of, we had two brands. We had the Barclays Center, we had the Nets. They had their very specific use cases and audience, right? So Barclays Center, people going to Barclays Center, I think we can assume that. Nets are Nets fans, but there's some overlap there. If we were to draw a Venn diagram of Barclays Center users and Nets users, there's definitely overlap. But it's not 100% overlap. So that was something that we really had to consider. And, when we were moving through, there were some in one camp wanted all of the features in both apps, right? It would have been very easy to build two apps that had everything. Nets app has live video, Barclays Center has live video. So what we made the conscious decision to do, though, was to craft two separate experiences catered toward very focused, targeted use cases for each app. and their user base. So one of the fundamental paradigms of great app design is ensuring that you're designing for a very focused use case. So we kept that in mind throughout the whole process and really figured out how to sort of split up those features in a way that makes sense. But that doesn't mean the apps can't work together, right? So the way we pulled that off was through a tool, a technology that's called URL schemes. And that basically allows us to jump from the Nets app to the Barclay Center app, from the Barclay Center app to the Nets app, all through the tap of a button. So if you're an iOS user, you don't have to open up your multitasking drawer, you don't have to double tap the home button, you don't have to go through that, I mean, let's be honest, a pretty painful app switching process in the grand scheme of app use. So we wanted to make that seamless. And we got a little more smart about it than just putting a button in the interface. We wanted to make sure that only the users that made sense for got that UI, saw that UI. So what we did was, if you are using the Brooklyn Nets application and you're in Barclay Center, you'll get a navigation element that says, hey, you should go check out the live video in the Barclay Center app. And users will be jumped right over to that Barclay Center app to experience live video. In the Barclay Center app, if you are on location at Barclay Center and there's a Nets game going on, you'll get a promotion for the Nets app, and that can jump you right over the Nets application. So the apps aren't two standalone experiences; they work together in tandem, which is nothing that I've seen done before, and it was pretty exciting to be involved in that creation process.
See what I mean? The full episode is going to be up there. It's a long one because we not only talk about Barclays. These guys have incredible clients. Like, you're seeing them as if you happen to be watching this. Scroll through behind me. CNBC. They did the Verge app. They've worked with GE, Valpak, Johnson & Johnson, the Barclays Center, and the Brooklyn Nets. This is a very, very, very smart company. This episode will be up in a couple of weeks on Untether.tv. I implore you to take a look at it. If you're interested in connecting with Blake, just head to willowtreeapps.com. willowtreeapps.com. And I really appreciate the fact that the Blake took some time out to be a part of this and allowing us to use this clip on This Week in Location-Based Marketing. Thanks, Blake. willowtreeapps.com. All right, back to the stories, Asif. Boom.
Yeah, so the next story is an interesting one. U-Haul, a company that I think everybody knows, at least in North America, everybody knows who U-Haul is, because we all move from time to time and need a truck and to transport all of our stuff that we collect. U-Haul is done an interesting project in Detroit using augmented reality technology from Aurasma. And it's an interesting story in the sense that what they're doing here is in Detroit right now. They're building a giant sort of moving and self-storage kind of location. So a U-Haul building is being erected. And Detroit's an interesting market at the moment. I mean, there's been so much turmoil in that city. With the the collapse of the auto industry, the bailout of the auto industry, so many great buildings are just in disarray, empty, vacant, just sitting there, falling apart. And here comes U-Haul saying, okay, we're investing in Detroit. We're putting a new building up there. And what they've done is they've basically used AR to kind of tell the story to people in Detroit of what this building's all about and why U-Haul's investing in Detroit. And so what happens is you download the app and you hold it up over what is the space that the building will be in shortly, and you get this this kind of personalized message from Stuart Schoen, who's one of the EVPs at U-Haul. He kind of shows up in the doorway of where this building is going to be and talks about what they're doing and what their plans are for sustainable building and Detroit and kind of revitalizing the area and how U-Haul wants to be a big part of that. And then they kind of walk you through what this building is going to be all about. So it's I think it's a an interesting use of AR technology. Obviously, it's not the most creative thing, but it's a different way to kind of engage with the local audience, and we'll see where it goes. But you can find out more about it at uhaul.com/moving Detroit.
I think that we're going to see this a lot more. I think the challenges are that you have to be in this location to see how this operates. From a logistics standpoint, this is very cool. Like, I don't want to diminish the innovation that's happening here, because that's very important. And we got to test these things to make sure that it works. And this is where I think that we've talked about this quite often, that image recognition capability on chip, right? Instead of having to download apps and I think this is where something like Google Now is going to kill it, and Android is going to excel, simply because they have this flexibility, or having an always-on app, like the equivalent to this, but equivalent to Moves, but in the image recognition space, because you have to go to the location. Then there's a QR code on the there's a QR code on the door that you have to basically have a QR code reader to be able to download the app that allows you to see the augmented reality at this. You know what I mean? It's like this daisy chain.
It's like it's the same issues I have with Foursquare. I mean, it's just there's too many steps.
Yeah.
Right. We need to get to that passive kind of engagement model, right, where it just stuff is just enabled because we're there.
It happens.
Or not, it just happens.
Yeah.
Anyhow.
I mean, friction is what you want to avoid, and we hear that a lot. But here's that thing where, too many steps to get there, and I would love to be able to see it on the web. Like, I'm interested in this, so I go to the store. Give me the ability to download something or scan something or do something that shows me from where I'm sitting right here, because I'm not in Detroit, but I'm interested in this, and but it's an example of a company thinking. And, I might have to use U-Haul in the next little while. You know why, Steve? You know why Ottawa is one of the greatest cities on the planet?
Why is that, Rob?
It's important to know this. They've just passed a road name change. Don't know what it was called, like Rural Route number 3. They're calling it, you ready? Thunder Road. Oh!
Thunder Road.
I was telling my kids yesterday, we got to pack. We're moving to Thunder Road. And they're like, "What, Dad?"
Are the AC/DC guys moving in, or what? What's going on?
But you know what? It's a Springsteen tune, right? That's why I got to be there.
Come
on,
but
there's a line in the Springsteen song called Thunder Road, and I don't think that the city thought about this as they were renaming a road to a Springsteen town, which is it's a town full of losers, and I'm pulling out of here to win. Right? That's the last line of Thunder Road. So, anyways, Thunder Road coming to Ottawa. U-Haul, gonna need your services. Packing up my family, moving to Thunder Road.
You're going to have to rebuild the treehouse.
It's okay. I don't think there's anything out there on this. That's where we're going to be living, in the treehouse. All right. Yeah. So if you're interested in that, as Steve was saying, go to uhaul.com/move Detroit, or I have here blogs.uhaul.com/Detroit. You'll get to the same spot. Our fifth story. This is, we think about Cisco, we think about enterprise, we think about hospitals, we think about Luddites, we think about the inability to move digital into their business with, digital records management for patients, and security and compromising security. But here's something. This is a very interesting play, because part of creating efficiencies with mobile and devices is also inventory control and management and people management, and making sure there's a good flow and understanding context to the situation right now, where everything is and where everybody is, to service a customer better. And Cisco walks in there, and so Cisco has created this context-aware healthcare solution, which I think is a long time coming. We've been talking about tags, smart tags, and Wi-Fi tags on equipment since the old RFID tag days, right? And I think that this is finally ripe, ready to come to fruition. Wouldn't you say, Asif? Like, it's about time.
Yeah, and I think this is a space that a lot of the carriers historically have tried to provide solutions into healthcare, into hospitals, and things like this. It's interesting to see the hardware manufacturers like Cisco step up and really put a focus on this. And I was on a call yesterday with Ericsson. They're looking at things like this. When I was at Apps World a few weeks ago, I met a company called eTelU, which is a indoor positioning or location play that's almost exclusively focused on healthcare as well, and hospitals and things like that. So I think this is an emerging space. You know, it's not always about retail and consumers and deals and stuff like that. There's lots of other great applications for this, and and one of those is healthcare. And so this kind of context aware healthcare, as they call it, for me is interesting. So it's about it's about indoor positioning, it's about RFID, it's about Wi-Fi tags, it's about being able to track equipment in hospitals, which often goes missing. It's about mobile asset management at the end of the day, and I think there's a huge amount of opportunity in this space. There's privacy issues around patient privacy and regulatory things that I think this enables in some respects, and patient safety even, right? I mean, so Alzheimer's patients and things like that, that can be lumped in along with the equipment in this respect in terms of tracking and tagging. So I think there's a lot of opportunity, and I like that Cisco and others are stepping into the space, and I think we need more of it.
Yeah, and as the market matures for digital records management and mobile devices inside of the hospitals and in doctors' hands, there was a company here in Ottawa called Select Start Studios that worked with the University of Ottawa Health, or the Ottawa hospitals here, to kind of enable one of the very first North American tests of iPads in hospital and doctors' use for records management. That's a little bit longer play. There's still a whole bunch of efficiencies that can be brought into hospitals through the use of mobile technologies and tracking technologies and contextualizing location, and even they're talking about remote monitoring of temperature in the building to make sure that it's optimal for patients and optimal probably for reducing the transmission and the spread of disease and all these kind of things that we're starting to get into that are the I think the catalysts for digital and mobile adoption later on, right? We always think grand vision that my healthcare and my records are going to follow me wherever I go, and we're going to do these remote procedures around the world and all these kind of things. But really, what the big things are, for hospitals is budgetary, just like everybody else. Like when equipment goes missing or it's underutilized, they're leaving revenue on the table, or they're losing money, or they have to spend more money to replace things, and part of it is also about reducing that 6 or 7 hour wait in the emergency room to be able to get people through faster and make sure we can save some lives. And I think when you start to attack those problems like Cisco's doing, big things start to happen. People get comfortable with the technology, they start to adopt the technology, and then we can start talking about the big nuggets around everything else. So I like this.
And big money too, right? I mean, this is we talk a lot about monetization and all these little consumer apps that can't seem to find a revenue model. Well, guess what, guys? This is big business we're talking about here. This is healthcare. This is hospitals. These guys, spend millions and billions of dollars. There's a lot of money to be made in applying location-based services, contextual services, presence detection, all that kind of stuff that Cisco's doing in here, to actually make real money. So,
not even to mention analytics. Like we love the data stuff. Like and this is where you get into equipment usage and wait times, and this creates efficiencies, or can create efficiencies if acted upon. So, companies like Cisco, big hardware providers like this are it's good business for them to be in, I would say, saving hospitals money. So cool. Cisco, you can search for this, search for it on Google, just context-aware healthcare solution by Cisco, or you can just go to cisco.com and go into their healthcare area, and you'll find some more information. There's a PDF. Well, I'll link to the PDF in the show notes. Okay, our last story right before we jump into our resource of the week. Asif, man, talk about this. When you submitted this story, I thought, what do you mean? San Francisco is going to regulate mobile retail? How are they going to do that? This is a broke. Yeah. I mean, everybody knows that the state of California is broke. So this is another tax grab. I was infuriated. I was angry. I'm like, they can't do it. I'm not. And then it's like, when you mean mobile retail, like you quite literally mean mobile retail, like vending through trucks and clothing stores in the back of a van and food trucks, and then I calmed down.
Yeah, but the reason I wanted to pull this story up because it is potentially how far does this does the thinking around this regulation go, right? So right now, yes, it's absolutely, we're talking about food trucks, we're talking about, any kind of retail that is, transitory or on the move, in a physical way. So the city of San Francisco is basically looking at drafting some regulations right now that are going to regulate this, that are going to put some taxes around this, and because right now none of this is covered by any of the current laws that are there. What's been happening apparently in San Francisco is business owners, business operators are going to the city and saying, we want to do our fair share. We want to give, we are, doing business and we should be paying something. And there's no regulation for them to actually to enable that. So that's what's kind of prompted this. But, as much as this is focused at the moment on food trucks and like businesses, mobile retail in that context, what's to say that it doesn't include other types of pop-up retail? For example, Target just launched in Canada, and prior to that launch, you had them coming into Toronto and other places, and just throwing up virtual stores, like in a truck, for like 3 days and getting people used to that brand. So this is the kind of thing currently that under this kind of regulation would be, would fall under that kind of, taxation. But, what happens if that's virtual? What happens if, we're talking about an AR store, in the middle of Central Park? What,
Yeah.
is that considered mobile retail? I would think it is, right? Because if it's something to me that's happening in a physical location and it's only available in that location, then to me, technically, it's mobile retail. The difference is that I think where you wouldn't necessarily include it is just a commerce transaction that's happening over mobile. So I think it's the difference between a proximity-based, transaction, right, versus something that is just mobile commerce. So in other words, I download a song from iTunes and I pay for that. That's not mobile retail in this context. But if I buy something through virtual AR in the middle of Times Square, okay, for me potentially that could be mobile retail. And so I wonder how far these kinds of legal discussions are going.
I would wonder because when you're doing e-commerce transaction in a state or a province, or you get taxed at a certain level, right? You get taxed at that state's tax bracket. So if I buy anything in Canada, I get charged PST, GST, and so I wonder if I actually purchase something through a mobile device, like a song, and based on my proximity. So I go to iTunes. I'm in California. I buy a song from iTunes. Of course I would get taxed, because I'm in California. You could see it then putting into that point where I'm going to get taxed Californian taxes, because you've got to think that every state and every province is losing tax revenue because of that exact same thing. And I think that you're right. Yeah. This as a base for retail taxation or retail legislation. You could start to think that everything that we do will be taxed, that wherever you are, you're going to get to that granular place. And why wouldn't they? That example, I think it was at LAX when Sobeys put up the flat screens, right? The pop-up store where it allowed you to order the things that you needed when you were on your way home from a long trip. So you get some bread and some milk and those kind of things. That all of a sudden becomes a pop-up store, and you're taxed at a certain level. And this could be detrimental. So this, hopefully, that what we're talking about here are people actually taking their time to wander through what it means to be a mobile retail outlet, and to start to think about what the implications on the actual mobile and the devices, purchasing from the devices means. Because if I'm holding it up and it's an augmented reality store, which you can do anywhere, right? I could be in Canada and I could do an augmented reality store in the middle of anywhere. I can do it on the Golden Gate Bridge. I can do it in Times Square.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, it comes down to what is their jurisdiction? Yeah. Is it physical real estate? That makes up what that city or municipality or state can tax on, or does it include the airwaves and other stuff around that, right? The virtual space, the air. And I think that is an interesting discussion, and I'd love to hear, what, some of the lawyers are positioning and thinking around that. So, anyways, I just wanted to raise it because it's an interesting discussion. I think San Francisco seems to be moving forward in this direction. They'll be the first in the U.S. to do anything like this, when it happens, and we'll watch and monitor and see where it goes.
This is going to be very, very interesting as we go through this. And it's brought on by the fact that this could be a long discussion. It's brought on by the fact that obviously per square footage cost of retail cost or retail stores in San Francisco and many major cities except maybe Detroit are escalating at a point where people can't afford the rent, right? It's very expensive. So these pop-up trucks start to come, pop-up stores start to come. And I wonder if this kind of signifies the beginning of not the end of retail, I don't believe that, but the shrinking of the store, the size, the square footage. Instead of what once was, a 1,000 square foot store, you're going to do 4 250 foot square stores with virtual inventory, right? Like we've talked about many times before. So who knows what happens here? But this is we should be watching this with really, really sharp eyes about what happens going on. So San Francisco could be the first city to regulate mobile retail. We don't know what that means. I think we should all be a little frightened what that means. And that is our 6th story. So we've done, look at that, covered everything, gone around the world. And we've also opened up what I hope is a good debate, a good discussion around a few of these things. So if you happen to have any comments, suggestions, criticisms, anything, reach out, rob@untether.tv or asif@thelbma.com. Follow us on Twitter @RobWoodbridge or @AsifArkhan, and we will respond. And if you wanted to be a part of those 6 stories, if you had something to contribute, please reach out. We will include email. You can reach us at untether.tv/talk if you'd like to leave us a voicemail. And of course, we will play that on the air if you leave it to under 30 seconds, provided that it's not swear-laden. I'm the only one that's allowed to swear on the show. In fact, I think I'm the only one that does. All right. Yeah. Final piece. Right. Our resource of the week, Asif. This is a great one. Lead us into this and then lead us out, please.
Yeah, so it's titled "Who's Using Geosocial and Location-Based Services?" Based primarily on new data from the Pew Research Center, which puts out great studies on this kind of stuff and looks at the American consumer population in particular. So they're looking at both what they call geosocial networking platforms like Facebook Places and Foursquare, as well as pure location-based services that are more about finding restaurants and social discovery, or more discovery-based than social, I should say, solutions out there. So like Spindle, I guess, would fall into something like that. And so there's some interesting stats in here. 83% of all American adults age 18 and older now own a cell phone. So those are big numbers. 83%, that's a big number. 55% of smartphone users get location-based directions or recommendations. 42% are on a smartphone. So it's 83% overall cell phone, 42% smartphone. Which I've seen numbers that are actually over 50% in the U.S. now. So, obviously everybody's looking at slightly different studies and different panels, but it's in and around that 50% mark. And 12% of smartphone users use a geosocial service like Foursquare or Gwal. So those are pretty significant numbers. And then they go down and they break it into gender and household income and education and a bunch of other stuff. So there's some great data there. The most important thing about this infographic for me is at the bottom of the infographic, they talk about the top networks and the number of users on those networks. So Facebook and LinkedIn and Twitter and Foursquare. And it's number of active users, not the number of users on the platform. So we know Foursquare, for example, has 29 million users on the platform, but it's actually delineated here as only 10 million active users. So just to put that into context in terms of the numbers that we usually see out there, which is how many people have downloaded the app.
And it's a pretty severe drop off when you go from Twitter at 100 million users, active users, to Foursquare at 10 million, and Google Latitude. And I don't know anybody who uses Google Latitude. Do you?
Yeah, well, it's rolled
Google,
into Plus
Google
now,
Plus
right?
And
so
Google Now and all that, but and even Friendster. So Very fascinating, very fascinating. And one of the interesting things that I haven't seen Gowala's name mentioned in a long time. And, I thought we should stop referencing Gowala, but this is it's a great thing. This will be up at, will this be up at the lbma.com/research? Okay.
It will.
And of course, if wherever you found this episode, just if there's a write-up, best place to go is on tether.tv, and you can, or the lbma.com/research, and it'll be in the show notes there. That is our resource of the week. Who's using geosocial and location-based services, which is Pew. If you don't follow them or don't know anything about them, you should do a Google search on Pew and find out. They do some incredible research on this stuff, as well as onto media and newspaper business and what's going on there, and some great recommendations come out of there.
Yeah.
So, all right, that is episode number 120 of This Week in Location-Based Marketing. Any final thoughts on this, Asif, before we wrap up and let the good listener, the fine person at the other end of these earbuds, go on with their day?
No, I mean, I would just say that if you've got stories out there that you want us to cover, be aware of, feel free to send us a note, an email, a Twitter message. Don't forget to subscribe in iTunes to this podcast. Just look for This Week in Location-Based Marketing, and you'll find it there. We really appreciate the support and the folks who actually reach out to us and tell us that they watch and every week, or that they can't get enough of Rob and me. I guess I don't know what it is, but we love it, and we're really appreciative of it. So just keep it up, and feel free to reach out to us at any time with a story idea or an interview request or what have you. So thanks.
Line of communications wide open. That is it for episode number 120. We'll see you next week for number 121. Asif, enjoy your week off. Everybody else, see you next week.
Cheers.